not all reports are created equal, and it is important to know the standards at which you're grading at so you know that you're comparing accurately too. And then of course, it's also even better to be able to come in and talk with someone who understands this and can help guide you.
So the next C would be clarity.
The clarity of a diamond has to do with the characteristics within the stone. Almost always when I say that to people, they say, do you mean flaws? And I say, technically you could call them that, but I really feel like it's kind of unfair because it's like saying if a person has a freckle, they've got a flaw.
Right.
And we all know that that can be very attractive too. So diamonds have character within them. Now, going back to some of the other stuff we learned from our last podcast, they're grown 150 miles below the Earth's surface in the mantle of the Earth. They're brought to the surface by volcanic reactions that are unlike any volcanoes that we've seen today, much more powerful and coming from way deeper within the Earth. They actually came to the surface of the Earth millions of plus years ago. All those factors put together, don't you think they'd have a few scars from their journey? All right, so therefore, I'd like to say it's character. It's something that shows that they've lived. It's something that shows that they've survived a very long time. That being said, we still do grade it. And when it comes to the clarity grading of a diamond, we're just like the body color of the diamond, we're looking for lack of inclusions are going to be at the higher grades. You've probably heard of a flawless diamond. Well, a flawless diamond means there's absolutely nothing within the diamond or there's nothing on the surface of the diamond at all. Not a single thing.
Up to 10 power magnification.
Exactly. And 10 power magnification, when I'm as a grader, we take a look at it at 10 power, we establish the grade at 10 power, but we almost always use higher magnification to really scour that diamond to make sure there's nothing in it.
She'll have a diamond that's of super high clarity that, I mean, will take hours sometimes looking at this diamond to try to find something inside
just to make sure that we're not missing anything. And cleaning a diamond is a huge issue when it comes to clarity grading because diamonds are grease magnets. And we go, oh, there we go. We have a little something there. Finally, I found something. Nope, that's a piece of dust. So we're constantly cleaning our diamonds when we're clarity grading them. As you can imagine, clarity grading is a little more difficult if you've got prongs around the diamond as opposed to a diamond that's loose and out of a mounting. And so therefore we have to use reflections to try to look at the areas underneath the prongs. And we also have to resign ourselves to knowing that we can't fully see the entire diamond when we're clarity grading. So we are clarity grading, like I said, with limitations when it comes to being mounted. But flawless is going to be typically a collector's gemstone. I always like to use my little analogy here. I have this many diamonds that fall within the flawless range in the industry, and this many that fall within the eternally flawless, which is the next grade down. The next category is very, very slightly included 1 and 2. Those are the ones that take me a half an hour to an hour to actually find the inclusions in it and determine for sure that they are inclusions. And there's about this many in the VVS 1 category and maybe this many in the VVS 2 category. The very slightly included category 1 and 2 have maybe this many and this many diamonds in them. Now, as you can imagine, see how much bigger those ranges get? When we get to the slightly included category, which is one of the most common categories, diamonds are going to have noticeable inclusions under 10 power magnification, but will probably not have inclusions that are visible without magnification. But SI1 and SI2 are about this big and this big, and you can imagine there's 3 more grades after these. They're in the included category, I1, 2, and 3, and those 3 grades are typically will have inclusions that are not going to be, that are going to be visible without magnification. And those grades can span the width of our showroom to the width of our building to the length of our block. That's how many diamonds fit within those categories. Yeah. So as you can imagine, it is important to be able to grade them accurately, especially in those upper grades with very few diamonds fitting that category.
But the interesting thing is these are all considered gem quality diamonds, and when you look at, I think we talked about it in the last podcast, about all of the diamonds that are mined, the percentage that are actually gem quality diamonds.
About 20%.
Yep.
Yep. So that's
Yeah.
So you can imagine all the rest of those diamonds are going to be used for industrial purposes. They'll be ground up for diamond dust. They'll be used in diamond bits, diamond wheels. Many different things are applications for the industrial uses of diamonds. So that 20% is where we're going to be putting them on these grading scales.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the last or the fourth C, I want to talk to you a little bit about the industries that have created these standards for grading diamonds. The Gemological Institute of America was the institute, and we are using their information right here on our little board here, and they were the institute that actually came up with the grading scales. They've been around, actually they might be approaching about 100 years old soon, and their grading scales evolved over time, but since about the 1950s they've maintained consistency, and that's the VVS grades that we've been talking about here, the D through Z color grades. They invented the grading scales, but they did not patent it, because they didn't want it to just be proprietary for them. They wanted the industry to be able to use it. So in that particular case, the industry has used it. But it's something that's very important to note at this time, that not all laboratories that grade diamonds grade them in the same way that GIA set out in the very beginning. Some of them choose to grade the color of their diamond in the face-up position. And when a diamond is well cut, it appears to have much less body color than it does when you look at it in the face-down position. So their grades might be a little bit higher. So if you're ever looking at diamonds, especially if you're doing some searching online, make sure that you understand that one report graded by one laboratory might not be the same as the other report graded by another laboratory.
They are not all created equal.
Correct. But what I will always say is that because GIA, the Gemological Institute of America, created the scales, we will always follow their standards. The other industry that we work very heavily with is the American Gem Society, who is a sister company to the Gemological Institute of America, and this is where we get all of our credentials for appraising. They very much are there to guard the consumer and make sure that the jeweler that you're working with is fully educated. So I just want to give you a little sidebar on that, because not all reports are created equal, and it is important to know the standards at which you're grading at, so you know that you're comparing accurately too. And then, of course, it's also even better to be able to come in and talk with someone who understands this and can help guide you.
Yeah,
so feel free
definitely.
to give us a call or stop in, even if you're just curious.
Yeah, and before we get completely off of clarity, again, one of the things that I always like to tell our guests when they're looking at clarity is this is, again, a personal preference. But when we're looking at that grading scale, and she talked to you briefly about this flawless down to the SI2, and then we get into the I1, I2, I3. The I grades are the grades that you can see things with the naked eye. But anything from that SI2 and above on that grading scale, you cannot see anything without the naked eye, or with the naked eye, without using a microscope.
Yeah.
So this is all personal preference. You know, a lot of people, this will also affect that price. So a lot of people will go maybe in the VS or the SI range for clarity because they can't see the difference between that diamond and a flawless diamond. So this is where we have some room to play around when we talk to you about diamonds and we help you to pick out the perfect one. Is we can definitely kind of discuss all of these grades and then see where it works best for you. This is the one that I personally worry about the least when I'm looking at diamonds. As long as it stays within those nicer ranges, we can always find a beautiful diamond. And sometimes the inclusions are actually really interesting. They've got some kind of a unique pattern in them, or a trapped crystal inside of them or something like that. So there's some unique identifying characteristics that we can sometimes find in there. So then we can move on to cut grade.
Okay. I will say there was one time I saw a diamond that had a small garnet crystal trapped inside of it. And because of its location within the stone, it caused a reflection of itself. And that reflection caused that diamond, that garnet crystal, which was red, to look like this inside of the diamond. So it was a diamond with a heart in it. And that inclusion was visible without magnification. So as you can imagine, the grade's a little bit lower. But did that diamond sell pretty quickly because it had a heart inside of it? Less than 24 hours.
It
stayed
sure
in the
did.
showcase.
It was so unique.